First claim was this: rights don't exist.
Next topic is rights don't actually exist, only force.
Rights don't exist. But wait, it changes.
Rights, and I don't believe that rights exist as an objective standard, but rather they're a social construction of the mind.
It's just a social construction of a mind. But wait, he's going to change it again.
And maximize
I
potential.
think rights are force, and I think that
You think rights are force?
Government
Yeah, rights are
protection.
What do you mean?
So now they're force. But wait, it changes again.
I would make the distinction in two ways. The first would be an unalienable right. So if you look at the framing around our Constitution, there's only 3 unalienable rights. So the unalienable right would be a right which cannot be taken away under any circumstances.
Here's the thing, guys. Rights are whatever the heck he wants it to be. Depending on who he's debating, it's going to change. So in this video, I'm going to be debunking Andrew Wilson's claims that men give women rights. How everything he's saying just makes completely no sense. And it's just things that he makes up in his own mind. I'm going to show you with facts. I'm going to give you the proof. I'm going to lay down the foundation before we get into the video, so that way you guys can see where I'm coming from. That way you guys can understand. And you're going to see the contradictions happen in real time once I lay down the framework for you guys. So before we get started, guys, like, subscribe, hit the bell, share the video. It really helps my channel out. All right, let's get into this. I don't want to waste any more time. In order for us to understand, first have to establish what's important about rights. What is a right? Where do rights come from? Who holds the authority over rights? And are rights even real? We got to understand that first. If not, everything else we show is going to be pointless. I'm going to lay that out for you guys. It could be confusing watching Andrew Wilson's claim and all that, because depending on who he's debating, his claims constantly change. They are never the same. He backs out on his belief. He mixes categories, words, and makes no sense. So depending on who he's debating, his claim is going to be different. I'm going to prove that also. So I'm only pointing this out because it can get confusing if you guys do not understand. So let me point this out first. So he makes 4 different claims. The first one is rights do not exist. That's one claim. Another claim he makes is rights are a social construct. The third one is rights come from force. The fourth claim he makes is we have inalienable rights from the Constitution. I just wanted to point that out. Let's lay down the foundation. Let's lay down the framework first. First thing we're going to cover is, what is a right? A right is a moral or legal claim a person inherently possesses, right? Which protects their freedom, well-being, their dignity, and cannot be justly taken away from another human being. All the information you need, I'm going to leave it in the description if you guys are interested. So that's what a right is. Everybody can recognize that. We all, no matter your belief, can see what that means. Next one is, where do rights come from? Now, there's 2 possible ways that this can happen. The first one is natural rights. These natural rights are granted from God. These are inherent, universal, and moral. Now, these exist because God designed human nature with dignity, freedom, and value. Nobody can justly take them away. They exist independently of society, government, or humans. All right. The second one is legal rights. Rights granted from government. Now, these rights are created and enforced by human authority. There's an agreement of what laws should be passed by our elected representatives. All right, so the next one is, who holds the authority? God has the ultimate authority of natural rights that don't come from man or law or government or anybody else. So, of course, the other one's going to come from the government, your legal authority. Just like Scripture says, we are to submit to the governing authorities. So now the last one is, are rights real? Now this is important, everything that I'm telling you, because it's going to come up in the video. Are rights real? Well, of course, we have already established what this is. All right, they exist, they're real. We already established where it comes from, who has the authority, and what a right is. People know right from wrong, even if laws don't exist. And Scripture confirms it. Humans are made in God's image, created with dignity and moral worth, okay? We know that rights exist, okay? Now that we've established everything of what rights are, where they come from, who holds the authority, you know exactly where I stand. You know exactly how to break these videos down going forward, okay? All right, so now that, let's get into the videos. Let's debunk this together, and you're going to see it unfold yourself. So here's the first one. The first one I'm going to show you, he's giving you a definition of what a right is. Let's see what he thinks right is, okay? Let's see him define it.
So the reality is, rights are recognized as things that we can and must do to survive and maximize
I
potential.
think rights are force, and I think that...
You think rights are force?
Government
Yeah, rights are force.
protection.
What do you mean rights are
You're
force?
You're talking about government
No,
protection.
I'm talking about period. I'll explain what I mean. A right to me is an entitlement absent duty. That's a right. Okay, you're entitled to it, but you have no duty.
What does that mean?
It
Yeah.
means that you have it. So, like, okay,
entitlement to speak.
Yeah. So if you have a right to own a gun,
To speak.
no, hang on. Let me finish. If you have a right to own a gun, do you have a duty to own a gun?
What is? But
According to him, a right is an entitlement absent of duties. Is this true? No. We've already established what a right is. If this is the case, other than what he's making up, where could you find this definition of that? You can't. It doesn't exist. Right? I gave you guys the definition. That definition applies to everybody, not just me. This right is an entitlement absent of duty nonsense is completely made up. And if you guys disagree with me, where's the evidence? Where could I find that this exists? Where could I find that it's a thing? Where could I find that it's recognized? You can't. It's something that he made up, and he said it himself. It's what I see as to be the truth of what a right is. But just because it's the way you see it doesn't make it true, right? It's just the way you perceive it. That's all that is. Example that he gave: if you have a right to own a gun, I just want to point this out real quick. If you have a right to own a gun, do you have a duty to own a gun? All right, that doesn't make sense. He's trying to put a right and a duty together as meaning the same thing. A right is something that you're entitled to. A duty is something that somebody else carries out. Okay, so they don't go. That makes no sense. I just wanted to point that out. That was his definition of what a right is, which was wrong. Now, on this one, he's going to say that rights don't exist. Now, I've seen the comments. Some people will tell me that, well, he doesn't mean that. He's just using somebody else's worldview. But no, he's not here. He's admitting this is his claim. He's not using nobody else's worldview or their own logic to show that they're wrong. This is absolutely 100% his own claim. You're going to see it in this video. So now, rights don't exist, okay? Let's check it out.
5 minutes. My next topic is rights don't actually exist, only force.
So rights don't exist.
That's correct.
Do you mind elaborating for me? Just what
Yeah.
you mean?
Well, can you taste a right, touch it, smell it?
No.
So these are just conceptual?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah. So then they don't exist?
Should we not act as if they do, though?
That's not the question, though.
That's fair.
We can move to that. I'm fine with that. But we need to establish they don't exist, right?
I'm tempted to agree with you up front. Yeah, they probably don't.
So anytime you say that a person has a right or a human right or this type of right, what you're really saying is that there should be some type of force doctrine which is applied in maintaining that a person can and always will be allowed to do X.
Okay. So, sorry, I just want to understand your position better, so I'm going to pivot a little bit. Like, you're Christian, if I understand. So, aren't rights kind of fundamental to your belief, or do you...
No.
No? Okay.
No, duties.
Here he's admitting that in Christianity, rights don't exist, that it's not fundamental to our belief, which he's wrong. It does. Us Christians do believe that rights do exist, just like we already established in the beginning of the video. So he tries to put everything in force doctrine and say this explains everything, like rights, the way society works, how you ought to be. So in his mind, the world works from force doctrine, and rights has nothing to do with force doctrine. It has nothing to do with force, which force doctrine, by the way, is completely made up also. Doesn't make sense. Now, this example that he used, can you see a right, touch it, feel it, smell it, right? So therefore, it doesn't exist. Actually, atheists use that to debate Christians with. It's crazy that he's using it, which makes no sense at all. He believes in duties. So you could say the same thing. You can't see, touch, or smell a duty either. So therefore, it doesn't exist. The logic makes no sense. Now, this next video, he says that rights are not objective. They're a social construct. Now, this is an entirely different position. Now, let's watch.
My first argument, my first objection is what I call an equal force objection. Men are the enforcement arm of society. And because they are the enforcers of rights, and I don't believe that rights exist as an objective standard, but rather they're a social construction of the mind, what I think we actually have is what's called force, right? So force are rights. That's all rights really can be, because the entailment of a right is it's only as good as who can enforce it. I do not believe that women can enforce their own rights and that only men can enforce their rights, and so therefore I do not believe egalitarianism is possible, nor should it be something that we move towards.
Now, rights are not objective, right? They're a social construct. But they're a social construct, but they come from force. Do you see this game he's playing? And this is important because the next video I'm going to show you, he claims that rights are objective. We're going to get into that one in a minute. Again, I mean, he's confusing so many different categories, so many different words and meanings, and he's trying to lump them together. Like I said, it's a complete word salad. It's complete chaos, honestly. So his claim, of course, here that men give women rights, obviously not. We've already established that as well. That's not true. Let's entertain his claim. Men give women rights. Okay, let's entertain this for a minute. So if men give women rights, okay, what man? They haven't explained that. What man exactly? Is it the majority of men? Is it a small percentage of men? Because the majority of men are not in a position of power. Okay? So if you were to say the majority of men are not in power. What man exactly? All right, let's move on. Let's move on to the last video. So now his position changes once again. Here you're going to see him say that rights are objective. Okay? His stance just changes completely. Let's watch.
So my first question to you is, when you talk about rights being able to be taken away or being enforced by men, what type of rights are you talking about? Are you talking about natural rights or are you talking about human rights?
What do you think the distinction between the two are?
I'm asking you.
Well, are these physical? So I don't any right that you would consider to be something which is physical from a secular framework. I would consider those to be right. Whether you call them natural rights or you call them whatever you want, it doesn't matter from my perspective.
Okay, but what I'm saying, what do you consider rights, right, that can be enforced and that can also be taken away if men collectivize?
Well, so I would make the distinction in two ways. The first would be an unalienable right. So if you look at the framing around our Constitution, there's only three unalienable rights. So the unalienable right would be a right which cannot be taken away under any circumstances. So the three unalienable rights would be the right to liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and what's the other one? It's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So those would be unalienable rights. So everything else would be a negative right in the Constitution, or the way that we at least perceive rights.
So now we have inalienable rights from the Constitution. Now rights come from government. What does that mean? It's objective. Do you see the change here? The last video, he said that they're not objective. So the rights that can't be taken away and that are objective, in his worldview, doesn't come from God. It comes from government. Let's recap. First claim was this: rights don't exist.
Next topic is rights don't actually exist, only force.
Rights don't exist. But wait, it changes.
Rights, and I don't believe that rights exist as an objective standard, but rather they're a social construction of the mind.
It's just a social construction of a mind. But wait, he's going to change it again.
And maximize
I
potential.
think rights are force, and I think that...
You think rights are force?
Government
Yeah, rights are
protection.
What do you mean?
So now they're force. But wait, it changes again.
I would make the distinction in two ways. The first would be an unalienable right. So if you look at the framing around our Constitution, there's only three unalienable rights. So the unalienable right would be a right which cannot be taken away under any circumstances.
Now they're objective. They cannot be taken away. Here's the thing, guys. Rights are whatever the heck he wants it to be. Depending on who he's debating, it's going to change. It's not going to be the same. He constantly abandons God's moral standard. He constantly jumps. He constantly contradicts himself. He constantly switches between worldviews. It's chaotic, isn't it? That's all I got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think on the bottom. I see y'all guys on the next one.